5 mistakes that first-time Mercedes buyers make. I am so excited to make this video because it's probably going to come off as clickbait. That's what people do. They have 5 something or other, and then they have a negative thing. 5 mistakes, 5 worst, 5 most bad, 5 terrible, 5 stupid decisions, 5 something. But I'm actually here today to talk about 5 mistakes that I see over and over again that don't need to happen. First mistake. When you're shopping for a Mercedes, buying an extremely well-advertised, well-publicized car. These include cars on major auction sites, Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, Hemmings, etc. You're not going to get a deal when everybody else thinks they're going to get a deal, because the deal gets muted. Deals typically happen when nobody else knows the cars are available. Now, I know a lot of buyers get discouraged and they go, how am I going to find that car? All the really good cars are in Bring a Trailer. So that's like the logical fallacy. But that's not necessarily true. I know that Bring a Trailer turns more people off than anything. Like the people that buy and Bring a Trailer know that they're going to be perceived as having the best car. Doesn't mean they have the best car. Just means that the perception is there. Number 4. Once they get that car, taking the car and assuming it does not need anything. So, because you paid top dollar for the car, or because it runs, drives, stops, and starts, and let's say the air works, that's the biggest one. If the air works, God help us. Because then you assume that nothing else is wrong with the car. If the air doesn't work, maybe that's a good thing because it forces you to look at other things in the car. But I've had customers come to me and say, item number 1 on the list, get my air working. Well, when you live in Florida and it's hot, that makes sense. You know, I mean, I know that when I drive a car where the air doesn't work, I'm chronically annoyed. And I know that when I drive a car where the air does work and there are a bunch of other problems, I'm okay. I can deal with it because I have air. But when the air doesn't work, I just want to get where I'm going. I get angry. I get irate. You know, I'm a big guy. I sweat a lot. But making the assumption that the car doesn't need anything, even when like all the basics work, you should really inspect the car yourself. If you don't know what you're looking at, figure it out. If you have bad knees, get a kneeling pad. I remember one time I was inspecting a car at auction at Amelia Island after I was recovering from a dislocated knee. So when you weigh 275 pounds and you're 6'4" and you have a knee that's all swollen and pain because you dislocated it 3 weeks ago playing soccer in kind of a high energy dislocation, you're like, well, shit, this is really going to hurt, but you got to get it done, you know, so it's hard for everyone, you know, but it's better going forward not to allow yourself to be surprised. Number 3, trusting a service provider that is unfamiliar with your car. People go, they look on Google, oh, everybody likes this shop, you know, but they just have a bunch of new Mercedes in their footage, in their ads. If they call the shop up, oh, we can work on that. And then you go there and you see a Jeep Wrangler and, you know, a Dodge Dakota and a couple BMWs, because BMWs are always broken. And you see a Hyundai and, you know, a nice looking Audi, and you're like, man, this guy can fix this car. He'll be fine. It's just a simple problem, right? You know, in the meantime, they change your oil and they forget to put a sealing washer in the drain plug and you get a major oil leak, you know. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where we see a lot of people take their car for the first time to shop and they spend a ton of money fixing stuff that may not need to be repaired. Or they spend a ton of money fixing stuff that's not repaired the right way or with inferior parts. Number 2, getting in the car and just using it, going, you know, just all out and seeing what'll happen. Always try to use your car under a controlled circumstance first. Take it for a short drive, even if it seems like the best sorted car in the world. Take it for a short drive. Take it for a quick, easy, basic, minimal, simple test drive around the neighborhood, make sure your oil pressure is good, make sure it doesn't get hot, make sure that your brakes work, make sure that you don't have any weird electrical malfunctions. I've been in two types of situations where this hasn't been able to happen. One, when I've had to transport a car long distance, which I try to avoid now whenever possible. Two, where I'm just being an idiot and I think I can test drive a car when it's really not ready. So a quick story about each of the first one. When I bought my gold 300D, which I didn't know I was buying, I thought it was sorting it out for a customer, and that customer ended up having some health issues that forced him to sell the car. It was a good car, so I bought it from him for whatever he would sell it to me for. But I didn't realize when I picked the car up that it had a cracked flex plate between the transmission and the engine. So I got in the car, and tuck, 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 tuck. I mean, it sounded like the engine was going to blow up. And I had to nurse this car back to my shop. I think this is 2012, 10 years ago. I had to nurse this car back to my shop with a broken flex plate in the engine. Miserable. What a noise. You know, another great story I could think of is when my buddy Tony Asaro, hey Tony, I know you're watching, first got his 220D. We did a bunch of work to it, and then I made this dumb assumption that the car was ready to go. You know, I had changed the oil, but I hadn't pulled the oil pan to make sure it was clean. I get 10 miles. Car's oil pressure is like barely anything. You know, and that's when I realized that this car had really, something really bad had happened to it. Well, the really bad thing was that it was getting ready to throw a rod bearing, and it did. And it threw it actually in a photo shoot we had. I don't know if I'll ever show this photo shoot, you know, but my friend Lars was there. Lars sort of stuck with me through the whole stupid thing, you know, so thank you, Lars, if you're watching. Number one stupid mistake that Mercedes owners make when they first get their car. They get in the car, everything's working good, they drive it, they don't check their fluids. Two fluids that will kill an engine: low coolant, low oil, and they don't look at either one. About half of these cars burn or leak oil, and this problem doesn't strike immediately. It strikes 2 months, 3 months, 4 months down the road. It strikes after you don't get an oil change for a year. You know, it strikes when there's sludge mixed in with the oil. We had a 280 SL in here recently that had an inch of sludge in the pan. If we hadn't pulled the pan, the engine would have cooked itself. When we were done pulling the pan and we got all the sludge out, you'd better believe the car had 15 to 20% better oil pressure and 5 psi of extra oil pressure at hot idle. Why? Because it's very hard to suck in clean oil through a sea of muck. So, you know, doing some of these basic maintenance procedures and maintenance checkups, you know, even things like tires. If you don't check your tires blow up. It can damage the paint on your car. You don't want that to happen. You know, if you have an older diesel, not checking your fuel filters can cause you to have a major reliability issue trying to drive the car back. And so, I mean, I know a lady that unfortunately had to abandon her trip in her 1980 300 SD because her little inline fuel filter got clogged up, and she was about 700 miles from home. So, you know, if she had just done some research ahead of time, she would have known everything was okay. Thankfully, she called me. All right, please like, share, subscribe, tap the bell for notifications. Let us know if you've done anything stupid with your first-time Mercedes purchase in the comments so that our subscribers can see it and not make the same mistake themselves. And if you do buy a classic Mercedes for the first time, try to use this as advice rather than criticism. Thanks.